to have their phones muted, and so that we can kick off and start. So this evening, this event is called Stepping into Leadership. Now, what does that mean? Somebody who I just asked before we started the session said they were curious, what's this view on leadership that you're going to be talking about? What does it mean? We can only start with ourselves, and also start with the founder of BYP, which is Kike. And on a simple level, we get a call to step into leadership, and that can look in many different ways. For me, for example, one call that I had, this was like 6 years ago, when I was living in the Caribbean, speaking to a dear friend and colleague who's also a leadership consultant, and we decided to plant a seed to support Black leaders, senior Black leaders in the UK. And at the time, I was living in the Caribbean and she was living in Chicago. A year later, my whole world gets tipped upside down and I find myself back in the UK. So I could actually start making that a reality. So Shirley McAlpine and I created a program which we delivered with Patrick Vernon, who's known now for his book. And we delivered that in partnership with Windsor Leadership, and that happened at Windsor Castle in 2017. And that was actually a couple of months before Meghan and Harry announced their wedding. So I feel like we set the scene in the castle before they went into it, So you can never imagine where things will take you and spaces. So what I would say is it's really about that there's a passion or a concern, and you often notice that other people don't hold that as tightly as what you do. So there's something that can be very specific in a time context, a situation, and you see a vacuum. For me, leadership is about there being vacuums, gaps in which you spot opportunities in which to step up and serve.
Okay.
It's not about a job title. It's not about your rank and hierarchy. It's about your sensitivity to what is going on in your environment, and spotting that there is a need for something, or you have a passion for something, or a concern for something, and you step in there and you like say, okay, I want to do something about this. And that's what Kike did, right? She stepped in and said, right, where is the support for Black professionals in the UK? I see it done really well in the States. I want to do this here. And then we use our qualities and attributes to really step up and start to make that happen. And often a lot of that is underground. It's like, planting a garden. You're putting seeds in the soil, not knowing, will it ever come to fruition? And that's the challenging part, because it's in the dark initially. Kike spent, I know, a lot of time just on her laptop at home, looking at what she was going to do, and building it and keeping the faith. And so, it's very unique to each person. As I said, this is not about a job role, although it may manifest as a job role in your organization, but it's about you really sensing and tuning into what's going on, And as Christina has typed in the chat, that does require emotional intelligence and many other attributes, but it's about your sensing capacity and, to spot, and we all sense and look in different ways. We may all have the sense organs, but we all are particularly attuned to spot different things because of our upbringing, education, and life experiences. And so what I'd like to do to kick us off, if we were in a physical event, we'd be talking to each other physically, getting to know each other. So for this event, I'm actually going to make use of the breakout rooms. So Josephine is going to break you out into groups of 3, and you're going to have 10 minutes with each other to explore what is it that you're looking to step up to and why, because very often we focus on the what, and we don't look at why am I really passionate about this? Why is this important? Why can I not let this alone? Why do I keep on coming back to this topic or this problem or this issue or this opportunity? So we're going to have about 9 groups of people, about 8 or 9 groups with 3 people. You should have 3 people in each. And so this is an opportunity, even if you don't think there is something that you're going to be stepping up to, just listen to the other people in the room with you, because they may start to stir things in you that you didn't know was there just by listening to them. And really get curious about the other people who are in the room with you and ask them questions about, well, why is that important? And you may have something to add to, you know, to help them flesh out their idea or to really ground it. And so now Josephine's going to split you into the groups of 3. And so I'll see you back in about 10 minutes time after you've had that discussion, and we can discuss that a bit more once you come out the other side. There's still a couple more who need to go into breakout rooms. We can pause the recording.
And you find a lot of us just try to kind of go it alone. And we're not all going to be kind of the experts in everything. So I think that's probably one of the things that I think I'm learning at the moment. It's actually what's out there, what support is available, and this call is kind of one of those.
Yeah, because there's such a myth about, you know, you do it alone, but you're doing what alone? Because if you're a leader, then you're just leading yourself, and you can lead yourself, but normally it's about mobilizing resources and people interaction. So by definition, it's not a solo endeavor, you know, and it's about relationships at the core. It really is. And who you've got strong relationships with, rather than, I think there's a form of leadership, an old style of leadership, that focused on the task rather than the quality of relationships. Because we all know that scenario where you need to get something done, and there's certain people you ask because you have a good relationship with them. And if other people ask you to do something and you don't know them from Adam, you're like, and so you may take longer to respond because there's no relationship, and so it just feels like you're being exploited rather than building on an existing relationship.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's a place where you can simply be honest and say, well, we don't know each other, we've got to work to get together, let's spend time investing in the relationship. And so we're going to call everybody back, because that's a good segue actually about that solo mindset, you know, that is so pervasive in Western culture.
Everyone should be back in the next 60 seconds, so they're probably just closing off and then they'll be back in.
So what is it that makes you passionate about your community?
I am I have so many things, but I think probably one of the key ones, it's to do with kind of interaction with the police and kind of law enforcement. I kind of had a really bad experience maybe a few years back, and I really have a passion for kind of adequate kind of victim support for I think people that come from kind of minority, I don't like the term, but I can't think of a better one, but minority ethnic backgrounds. I don't necessarily think that we get kind of the necessary support when we go through traumatic experiences with kind of law enforcement. So that's kind of where the passion is.
Great, everybody's coming back in. I'm just asking everyone to stay muted whilst I just finish off. I'm asking somebody about their why, and she's passionate about being like advocacy for people who are involved in incidents with the police. I get from you a great sense of justice, you know, and fair treatment. That's the values that you hold, that brings you in to really want to be in that, to show up and lead in that area. So this is what I'm talking about. It's just not enough to talk about the what. It's like digging deeper into the why. Why do I want to do this? Because there are times when you'll be really challenged around what you're doing. And without the why, you may just dry up or burn out. So if your what is just simply to copy somebody else, or what is expected of from your parents or from your colleagues, then that won't be enough to sustain you in the most challenging moments of pursuing whatever it is in your leadership, what that looks like. You know, I'm curious to hear from some of the others who've come back in, if you'd like to share something about what you've heard from somebody else, or share a bit about your what and why, about why you want to step more into leadership. Would anyone like to share? Pat? I see you've unmuted.
So I work in...
Oh, Bianca's, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, whoever that was. So I work in governance, and I've always been a naturally outspoken sort of person. Growing up in the Caribbean, obviously it's not a problem there. You just say what's on your mind, and that's that. You either go with it or you don't go with it. Here, obviously, it's a bit more nuanced. You have to be a bit more diplomatic, a bit more political and whatnot. So that's caused me to kind of shy away and just keep quiet. I'm very passionate about ethical behavior. I believe people should behave ethically and they should behave justicably. So I need to learn how to tailor and mold myself into the sort of person that can get on in the society and get things done that I need to get done in the way that they need it done, and not necessarily in the way that I've been taught most of my life. So I need to adapt my cultural learnings to their cultural learnings, because they will never adapt their cultural learnings to mine. That just
yeah. Thank you, Bianca, because you're speaking to a really important point, which is about bicultural competency. So we have our culture of origin and our culture of residence, and for some people that may be multiple ones, right?
Yeah. So
you have to navigate, you know, the culture of origin, your culture of residence, which is currently the UK. Which island you're from, Bianca?
I'm from Jamaica.
Okay, from Jamaica. So you've got to, you've been like, you know, your DNA is Jamaican, right?
Yeah.
And then you come here, and then you're embedded now in a different culture. And so you bump against all these assumptions that you've had about how things are done. And so you're having to be this linguist and really navigate the space. And this is true, I think, for everybody on the call tonight, you know, and part of leadership actually for this group is to understand those dynamics. So it's an extra layer of self-awareness that is required to navigate in the space in the UK.
Yeah.
And that's some of the work that I do with people, to make them aware of, do you understand this is coming from here and there? And one of the things that we just talked about in the break, whilst people in the breakout room, was around this solo image of leadership. I had the fortune of speaking to Angela Davis, came to the UK last year. She'd been speaking to some of the leaders in the US around, you know, the Black Lives Matter. And one of the things that came up was they said, we don't have one leader, but we are leaderful. So it's a role which multiple people can hold. It's just not one person. You know, we've got to move away from this one messiah type leadership figure. That's not sustainable. It doesn't reflect the reality. So many of us can step up into leadership, offering different tasks, qualities, and attributes that fit into a bigger vision. And so I'm sure, because of the culture in which you were born, you're going to bring some qualities which sometimes may be challenged, but I'm sure there's some that are going to be very powerful in this context in which we're living. And right now, you know, that there's an opportunity to look at how can I, you know, step into leadership. There's so much going on. There are so many challenges, and it can also be overwhelming. So one of the first things I really suggest that people do is just to take time to reflect. And that isn't really embedded in this culture. Everything's like busy, 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 but that's actually part of I'd say an ideology that actually burns people out. You know, not giving time for rest, not giving time for reflection. That is what burns out your nervous system. I do a lot of things around the body and the nervous system and understanding how that works. And there isn't enough education around it to understand we cannot keep on pushing and pushing and pushing. I mean, if anything, COVID-19 has highlighted some vulnerabilities. You know, I've lost people, you know, that we think that we can, okay, I'll rest tomorrow, when in fact you need to rest tonight. You know, and so what I don't want for you is to step up into leadership in a way which isn't sustainable, which burns you out because you buy into this solo, I have to do everything model. And it can be really challenging when people see you as being really gifted and they ask you to do everything. So one of the biggest challenges is learning about how to say no, you know.
Sorry, I wanted to intervene
Yeah.
on that because I lived it and experienced it. As you say, so I'm French originally, but I've lived in UK on and off, I think 14 years. I also lived in Germany. So I can say, and Amsterdam, so I can really see the difference of culture, especially as work is related, because in France we work, but we also have this mentality of I work to live, I don't live to work. So it's completely opposite. And in UK, you're always kind of pressed like a lime, you know, until they juice you out.
Yeah.
And I think in 5 years, I did 3 burnout. So I know. Because I work in media and it's always lots of deadlines, very stressful, extra. So because I freelance now as a way of life, I decided that I work 10 months, but I take 2 months off for me, 2 years. And so during those 2 months, I do 3 weeks of holiday and then 1 month where I do classes and things for myself, learn new things, personal development.
Yes.
Because my last burnout last year, as you said, I was head of department. I was asked to do everything for 1 week and I completely burned out. And for 1 week, I would stay in bed. I could not handle anything. I could not see. I could not proceed anything anymore because I was too much on my computer, always stressed, and my heart was starting to pumping. And that's where you know something is wrong. You lose sleep. Your heart is pumping for anything. Everything annoys you, and you feel drained. And so as French people, what we have in our culture, or even in Germany it's different. People start early, they finish early. So most of my colleagues used to come at 6, 7 and finish at 3. And then you have the rest of the day to do what you want in your life. So you go cycle, you do lots of activity, and then you feel much more balanced.
Yeah.
Here.
Thank you, Christina. Sorry. Thank you for your contribution. So what you're talking about is actually you being much more intentional about what it looks like, because there's a piece where we come out of our natural comfort zone, and that's a natural part of stepping into leadership. So one of the signs that you're being called to do something different is this unease or fear, you know, because you're moving away from your normal rhythm, activities and roles. And sometimes you don't know what that means, and that's okay. And I'm just going to show a little diagram, which some of you may have seen, I'm sure. Which speaks to this. So as you can see, you know, just think about in terms of this whole concept of leadership, you know, are you interested or not? You know, we've got the comfort zone where you feel safe and in control, you know what you're doing. And then as somebody I spoke to earlier said, somebody suggested to her, oh, you're really good at bringing people together. What can you do? And so you start to move out into one of these other zones and looking at, oh, me, or, you know, can I really do this? And so you start to question, and there can be a natural kind of anxiety that comes up because you're not doing what you're normally doing. And fear is not a bad thing. I want to make that really clear. Fear is there. It serves a purpose. It makes you clearer about what's going on. It makes you curious because your body's saying to you, oh, there's something new going on. What is that? So it's asking you more often not to slow down a bit, you know, to focus and to really see what's being asked of you. So you may have to deal with some challenges and problems, or you may see that you have to acquire new skills. And it was clear from the person I just spoke to, she started to acquire new skills in the sense of designing her work life differently. You know, so that was clearly in a work, you know, in a learning zone, because she was living in a certain culture which had an expectation of just burning yourself out and live for work instead of working to live. And so, you know, you can see, this is like a very simple diagram, but it gets you to see how you can see where you can move in and out of these different zones. And we do, because we're fluid human beings, you know, to really see what's going on. What do I need to do? You know, but there is a point where you have to, you know, if you're going to say yes to the call around something, you know, understand that fear will come up. And it's really important to name that fear, you know, and to feel it in your body. and also be vulnerable around it, you know, and speak to someone about what is going on, you know, because without the fear, that means you're attuned to that there's a change going on, or that you need to refocus or shift something. So it's actually, at the time, it may not feel like a blessing, but it is actually, it's a signal from your body to say, pay more attention. Now, can anybody who wants to put their hand up and say where they think they are in that diagram that I've just shown there? Or you can write it in the chat as well. You don't just have to.
Yeah, I think I'm navigating between the learning and growth zone just now.
Okay, yeah, yeah. And in a minute, I'll be talking about, you know, support structures that help kind of build that out. And I think what stops a lot of people from growing in their leadership is believing, one, that they have to do it alone, two, that fear is a bad thing. And so you hold all these beliefs that just keep you in between the comfort zone and the fear zone. And so you can't build out through the learning and beyond and the growth zone. Who else would like to say where they think they're at currently? Someone said here, yeah, so somebody here said they're in the fear zone. Someone else said they're in the comfort zone. I can read here. Someone else saying they're between fear and learning. Yeah, so it's really good just to, you know, just check in with yourself and say, where am I right now? Because that's valuable information. Because it informs you about what you need to be doing, what you need to be paying attention to, what sort of conversations you need to be having. Because one of the ways in which fear can come up, it can come up as a familiar voice, which I call the gremlin. So the gremlin is like this pesky friend that sits on your shoulder and says, oh, why didn't you do that? Or why do you think you're good enough? Or who do you think you can, you know, who do you think you are? And it's like this familiar friend, but it is a friend actually, because if you can say, well, what am I being asked to pay attention to? So rather than seeing it as a heavy judgment thing, I invite you to be playful with your gremlin, that familiar voice, that critical voice that's inside, and actually kind of make it into a character. And say, yeah, I know, you know, yes, Smurf, I know, that's my nickname, so that's my other sort of critical half, right? Yes, Smurf, yeah, you always tell me that. And so you learn to kind of dialogue with it and be playful with it, rather than be crushed by it. Because there's so much out there which can crush us. So it's really important to slow down and notice, what self-talk am I having that's really stopping me from stepping up, you know, and really look that belief in the eye, you know, because without looking at it, you won't be able to get beyond it. It will just sit there as a fog, you know, and you'll stay vague about your dreams and how you want to step up into leadership. And as I say, vagueness does not lead to greatness. So if you stay vague, you'll stay hidden, you know, and then it's an easy thing to say, oh, it didn't work out. And it's like, well, who did you speak to? Who did you ask for help from? You know, those are very specific questions that help you break down that fog that can take over. Yeah, I can see quite a few people here saying that they're in between fear and learning zone. Yeah, and there are many more questions that can come around those zones, so they can help you unpack, you know, and direct yourself about what am I really looking to do, you know, because in the past we've had an incredible past 6 months, you know, globally, you know, that may have stirred you to want to step up, you know. So sometimes it can be deep heartache which causes us want to step into leadership, or it could also come from a place of deep joy as well. But it's important, as I said before, to really know your why, because that's what will sustain your soul when the going gets rough. And it also enables you to communicate more clearly, because in some form or another, you maybe want to mobilize support or resources to achieve or to make real what your vision is. And a point that somebody made before around, you know, being good for supporting others, but not yourself. For me, that's just a sign that you understand what helps people become, you know, to step into leadership. We all need support. As human beings, our nervous systems are designed to be wired together. But we live in cultures which really mythologize the solo pioneer. But behind every great person, there's a whole support squad. So please don't believe it that people have just come and they're just great on their own. It's just not true. Maybe they're not telling you who their support squad is, but it's there. So if anyone has a question, they can ask me a question. I can see that. Yes.
Yeah, I would like to ask, because my own perspective about the kind of leadership I want to have
You're breaking up.
is not necessarily to be team and things like that, because I've had this perception about true leaders that they usually are not in the open space all the time. Most of the time, actually, they spend the time retrospectively thinking about and strategizing. And when you see them out, it's to get things in place or to set certain things running and then get people to get these things going as they're supposed to go.
Mm-hmm.
So the kind of leadership I'm looking at, which I think is actually very effective and powerful, is some sort of behind the scenes thing. Because I don't know if you've heard of the idea of the kingmakers. I
Mm-hmm.
think those people are actually the most powerful people on the planet, the ones who make the kings.
See, and I want to expand that idea, but to say not everybody is designed to play that role. So
definitely.
So to go back to the base of, to go back to what is leadership, I think you have to know yourself. That is fundamental. Awesome. A lot of people do not know themselves. They copy other people. They say, oh, that's what leadership looks like. And then they're missing. And you can feel it. When you know somebody's not alive with their own mission, you can feel it, that it's kind of painted on.
Yeah.
And that can be that's a deep, vulnerable journey to show up as you, to say, this is what I'm passionate about, even though I don't know if anybody else is interested in it. This is what feeds my soul. This is what makes me feel fulfilled. This is what enables me to get up in the morning. This is what enables me to move through these difficulties, because I'm so deeply connected to who I am and how that's connected to my why.
Yeah.
And a lot of time, I've got formal education up the yin yang, right? But I know that there's a place in which that can take me away from the passion of who I am and what I'm greatest at. Because I focus on getting those A stars. That wasn't my era anyway. But you can focus on getting the A stars or your first class degree or 2-1, and you're missing because you put all your energy out there into external validation, and you have not validated yourself. And what I've been seeing during the lockdown and since the murder of George Floyd is a lot of people are being confronted with themselves, that they've packed away.
Yeah.
Whether that's pain or anger, all these different things, but all of that is part of you that needs acknowledgement. And that actually, all that's packed away is energy and fuel for your leadership. So if you sit on this, you will not show up. Show me a person who's got lots of anger or fear, whatever down inside, and I show you a person who isn't fully expressive, because it takes so much energy to keep that locked down and go about your daily life. So part of my work is supporting people to really, to expand themselves, to know themselves, to know what they feel inside is valid and true. And that's the basis of your leadership. It's not the textbooks. I've studied a ton of those. And they're also from a certain cultural orientation too. That's also important to remember. Going back to my point about your culture of origin and your culture of residence. And some of you have had multiple cultures of residence, and also depending on your parentage, you may have also a richer culture of origin as well. So you also have to look to those sources about how is that resourcing me? And that's part of your support structure. Is your self-awareness is fundamental in order to achieve anything. Without it, you are just like a mask that can swap from one to the other. Whoever's pays you the highest salary or whatever it is that makes you switch your mask, or whoever gives you the most approval, rather than what is truly driving you to show up and serve. And without the time for self-reflection, and that can come in many forms, that can come in meditation, prayer, walking in nature, you know, journaling, you won't get to know yourself. And then it's like, you're like a fruit that just withers on the vine. So you need to nourish yourself so that your fruits can be seen and shared. So that,
yeah, sorry to interrupt you. Just to support what your line of thought. When we're at the breakout session, I mentioned this to a person whom I was speaking with, Alicia, and I said, you are not able to lead others if you cannot lead yourself. You need to start with yourself. There is one of the two greatest commandments is love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Yeah.
It means if you do not know how to love yourself, you cannot love your neighbor. So you need to effectively lead yourself. And that takes, like you have just said, a lot of awareness. Takes some time to understand yourself and then lead yourself, and then you can lead others. Thank you.
Thank you. And so the next part, you know, so we've looked at, we've gone a bit and shared about our why, you know, the what and the why, and this, and then we've looked at the zones, you know, where you are, whether you're in the fear or the learning zone. And somebody said just now, actually, that it's an invitation, leadership's an invitation to vulnerability, because you're really going to look at yourself and what touches you, not knowing whether that will have any resonance with anybody else, but you're willing to explore that and to see, you know, because it is you, you know, so you matter. So, you know, show yourself and start the conversation with yourself first. And one of the things that I support clients to do is to get a sense of what are my internal and my external resources. What is supporting me in my quest for leadership? And I'm speaking from a very simple place. You may not even know what leadership means, right? So you need to support to understand what that means for you, how it shows up in you, because it's unique for every person. And you may have a job role where you have certain responsibilities, but your leadership presence and essence is unique to you, and you take it to every job you go to. So please do not collapse your job title, whether you're MD or whatever, and who you are and how you show up. Because how you show up will show up in a supermarket, it will show up in an investment bank, it will show up as you as an entrepreneur, it will show up as you as a sister, as a mother, as a brother. Those qualities are omnipresent in whatever role you're playing. So please see the gift that you are, rather than see, oh, I'm a job title. That's just one role that you occupy. And so what I mean by internal and external resources are, what is it that sustains you, that really nurtures you? So from very practical things, from sleep, because for example, if you have less than 6 hours sleep, your cognitive function decreases by up to 50% the next day. So if you've taken on a demanding role or responsibility and you're working at this half capacity, you're really kind of making it hard for yourself and making yourself vulnerable to illness and to mental stress. You know, what morning practices do you have in the morning? Is it prayer? Is it meditation? Is it journaling? Is it going for a walk? Is it going for a run? What are the things that are internal to you that doesn't require anybody else? That's what I mean by internal resources that nourish you. So really, you know, write them down. I have a list of things that I've written down that what do I do? You know, before the lockdown, I was part of a gospel choir. So singing is really great for me, and I can still sing in the park by myself, even if I can't do it as a choir. So what are the things that you do, whether it's humming, writing songs, that are internal to you? In terms of external structures, you know, everybody needs a support squad. You know, who is part of your core team? Who is it, you know, off the top of your head, who are the people that you can call on and say, right, I need support. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what this job role means. I don't know what this means. I have an urge to do something, but I need to, you know, play around with some ideas, who do you call? And, you know, and have that as an explicit agreement. You know, I advise people to have, like, you know, have a Zoom squad call. You know, have it in your diary, you know, every 2 weeks or a monthly call where you check in with your Zoom support squad. And you may set some agreements about what that looks like, how many people are on the call, what you discuss. But what you're doing is you're building fellowship and trust. Because one of the things I think that is really underestimated, but people have been talking more about is the hostile environments that people work in. And if you're working in a hostile environment, then your body does not feel safe. That's just a biological phenomenon. No matter what your head says, oh, I can deal with it, but your body is constantly feeling that it has to be hyper vigilant on its guard. That will wear you down over time. So it's really important that you have your Zoom support squad, or however you meet them, that nurture you, that sustain you. Otherwise, you're just going to be like, you're just going to be like chipped away and chipped away and chipped away at your humanity and your greatness. So that's really important. You know, some people may go to the gym. I also suggest journaling, and also, like a vision board where you plant ideas of what it is that you're trying to create, and you're not sure, but you have a place where you collate all your ideas. It's like an ideas bank, so that you can go back to it. So you're like you're sprinkling seeds in the soil of you. So that's really important. I know there's one question, I think. Thank you, Jemima, great advice. Internal and external support systems are crucial. And I think in speaking to a friend, I realized, she realized that during COVID lockdown, most of her external support systems fell away. So you have to dig much deeper inside to your internal ones, because many things you assumed would always be there were not. So it's really important that you keep on assessing both, because it's only the internal ones that you can kind of take with you. And now we're going to, I'll leave that question for now that somebody has, but I want to take you on an inner journey inside of you. So I've been speaking a lot about yourselves, getting to know yourselves. I'm going to take you on a short visualization. So if you just kind of sit up, stretch the body a little bit, because I really want you to connect to the whole of you.
Sorry, can I still ask a question?
No, afterwards.
Oh.
Yeah. And so, as I said before, we often have this gremlin on our shoulder that blocks our vision. But there's a wise person inside of us that's aligned with our vision, that's mature, that knows what's possible. And so this is a short visualization to connect you back to that wise person that's in you, your most powerful self. So I invite you just to close your eyes. And just imagine that you're walking alongside a river, and it may be a spot that you know very well, that may not be in this country. And you're barefoot, and you feel the wet grass under your feet, and you feel the heat of the sun softening your neck and your shoulders, and you feel alive. You're feeling this energy flow. You have a great smile on your face, and you feel good about yourself and your life and how you're stepping up in life. And then as you turn a bend around this river, as you're walking along the riverbank, you spot someone who's sitting on a stone in the distance. You walk closer and you actually realize that this person is you, your most powerful self in 5 years' time. You notice that they look familiar, yet they're somehow different. Your powerful self looks at you and greets you like an old friend. They invite you to sit on a stone next to them. So you sit next to your most powerful self in 5 years' time. Now, this is a great opportunity to ask them questions. So some of these answers may come later on in a dream or just going about your day. So don't worry if anything comes up now. So I'm just gonna ask your powerful self a few questions. What is the next step on my journey? What is the next step on my journey? What do I need to let go of in order to move forward? What do I need to let go of in order to move forward? What is my true purpose in life? How am I to contribute as a leader? So what is my true purpose in life? How am I to contribute as a leader? So as I said, some of these questions, you may not get an answer right now, but just allow them to embed themselves in you. And take this opportunity to really look at your most powerful self in 5 years' time. What are they wearing? What's the expression on their face? What sort of energy do they exude? How does it feel to sit next to your most powerful self in 5 years' time? Really spend time with yourself. And now it's time to say goodbye to your most powerful self for 5 years' time, but knowing that that person lives in you now, so you can go back to them later. And so your most powerful self may give you a gift or not. If they do, you can receive it and thank them. And now it's time to say farewell as you walk away from your most powerful self and come back to where we are in this space, virtually, connecting to your leadership. And now you may want to just write something down on paper that came to you, or draw something, or there may be one word or nothing. And remember, this is recorded, so you go back and listen to this visualization again. Because sometimes we're so busy doing, we don't connect to the most creative parts of our brain, the imagineering. And this part is just as important as the part that's logical and rational and does the doing. This is the soil that fertilizes our being and our visions. So it's really important to take time to imagine and to connect to yourself, to that wise part of you that is flourishing, that needs nurturing. So this is something that you can do with yourself to nurture yourself. Thank you, Ruth, for your comment. So I'd like to take you out of that sort of dreamy state. I know it can, for some people, they can have very different experiences, from I didn't really feel anything to, oh wow, but what was your physiology? How did your body feel? So it's not even about imagining outside, because that powerful self is in you now. And it's just about nurturing that person. So we've only got a couple of minutes left. And I've got a couple of announcements to make. So thank you so much for that. I do meditation as practices with my clients because I have a master's in yoga psychology. So I know the power of connecting to those other states of the brain where we plant deep seeds of intention. And even though we're not actively working on them, they will keep on growing and sprouting, but we need to come back to them to nurture it. It's really important. So Ezra, do you still have your question? Can you make it brief before?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. So the question is about the external Zoom team, as you called it, coming back to them every now and then. Would you say it's the same thing as going internally and okay, there's this part of me that needs to be enhanced in a certain way. And I think I know person A, B, C that could help me with doing that. And I reach out to them and be like, can you help me do this or that? And not necessarily that you're always confused about something.
No,
But
as I said, you can set it up to serve you. And I didn't say about confusion. You may want to use them to brainstorm, or just say, I need support because I've got a big event coming up and I need to lean into. You're literally, when people come to support you, you're plugging into their nervous systems. And that's what people don't fully understand. When you have people that you trust and love, you can relax because you're not hypervigilant, you're not on edge. And that gives you access to resources that you cannot simply access if you're afraid. So that's what I really want to emphasize to people. If you're constantly in environments that are hostile, where you feel you have to watch your back, there's certain parts of your brain that cannot come online if you're in fear, if your body is in fear. So it's so important that you surround yourself with people on a regular basis who you'll feel safe with, who you trust, because that allows you to relax and expand. And with that expansion, your gifts can be felt in yourself and expressed to the world. Without it, you stay like a tiny plant that doesn't get the water, that doesn't get the sunshine. Because it's in soil that doesn't allow it to grow. And I know, for example, Lolette's a great gardener now, so she knows about that. What plants are you putting where? And as I said, there's going to be a BYP group on in leadership on the app. Please go there to post questions about this. I'm sorry we can't do more here, but if you want to continue the conversation, there will be a group set up on the BYP app where you can post questions for me. And I'm going to have some time off as I'm practicing what I preach. I'm going off to the lakes on Thursday, to be in nature, to tune out, and get inspired so I can continue to do work like this. I'm really thankful for all of you who came on this workshop and that you're appreciative for it. I hope you come away inspired, a bit more belief in yourself. And remember, sometimes when you doubt yourself, it's because you're not knowing yourself enough. Dig in your soil and you'll see how rich you are. I remember a biologist once saying, we don't know what's in 99% of the soil. And if we flip that to mean us, there's so much in us that we have yet to see, yet to realize, yet to appreciate. So spend time nurturing you, fertilizing your soil. It's really, really important. And there are more workshops that BYP are doing. There is, I'm just trying to find it now. Yeah, there's other events that you can register for. And there's also the corporate allyship event as well. And that's where you may meet some of your support squad, actually, So that's why I also invited you to go into the breakout groups on this call so that you could meet new people. I've met amazing people on Zoom calls internationally. Do not, keep the curiosity going. Notice where you have judgment. You're either incurious or you're in judgment. One can open up possibilities. The other one just shuts everything down. And have compassion for yourself in the times when you are in deep judgment and you feel scared. That's just part of being a human being. So thank you for everyone for attending. There was so much more I could have said. I was trying to give you some things. Yeah. And my contact information will be shared out in an email to all those who registered as well. So I just wanted to focus on you. So I hope you leave away with cherishing yourselves and what you have to give to the world, because it is needed right now. We've had too much blandness, too much input from one culture, really lean into your cultures of origin as well as the cultures of residence. There is so much that needs to be kind of looked at and explored and connected. And I'm so pleased that there's some people there from the Caribbean. I lived in Dominica for 7 years. That's where my parents are from. So I'll hail up that. And happy World Afro Day. I'm rocking my afro. So everybody can unmute and say a quick goodbye or thank you before you leave.
Thank you, Martha.
Yeah, thank you.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Nice meeting you all.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, bye.
I'm a little bit surprised that there aren't so many men here, but yeah. but it's great. It's great. It was great to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad you were here. You were important. That's why you showed up.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
On the feedback, it's your scale of 1 to 5. Is it what's 1? There's no label for it.
Okay, Josephine, can you
It's
pipe in
1.
here? Miss Josephine.
Or she might have logged off. Sorry, tried to get in.
So 5 is great, and then obviously 1 is not so great.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Cool.
So I'm willing to sort of hang out for a few minutes and talk to you if you need to ask anything or.
No, I'm gonna go. Right,
Okay.
it was lovely meeting who I met. Thanks a lot. Bye.
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 Good luck in Birmingham, Letitia. I wish you good luck.
Martha, can I ask a question? Sorry, I won't keep you, but just about kind of mentorship and how to, I guess, the best way to reach out to potential mentors. I think, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I'm probably like at a crossroads, and sometimes I think in the environment that I work in, it's not. So I work for a professional services firm, and there aren't many kind of senior Black women, you know, to say. So I have to kind of really reach out, and I'm trying to kind of build my network. But what's the best way, or one of the any tips that you can?
Yeah,
share?
I would look at firstly on a general level, what kind of events are you attending that are held by the organisation? So you can hear people speak and say, oh, I feel that person, I resonate with them, right? So where do you feel that connection? You can do it a strategic way and go through the list, but also I say start with, if you can attend some events and find out the people who are talking about topics that interest you, so that there's a genuine connection in the relationship. And use that as a point of exploring and researching that person so that you can start to build a conversation with them.
That's helpful.
So that, you know, be interested in them.
Yeah. Thank you. That's helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't just bounce up to someone and say, will you be my mentor? And they're like, what?
Yeah. Who are you?
Yeah. So, do, as my aunt would say, my deceased aunt, do your survey.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Have a lovely evening, everyone.
Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah,
Martha. You've given us a lot to think about.
Yeah.
I've taken a couple of notes, so
Okay.
hopefully I can revise them and have a think, about what you've said.
Are you in Aberdeen, Pat?
Edinburgh.
Oh, you're in Edinburgh. Okay.
Whoop whoop.
I've had some good times in Edinburgh. I saw Eartha Kitt in Edinburgh. And now I'm showing my age. She was at a Fringe Festival many, many years ago. It was amazing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the Fringe. No, big fan of it, but
Yeah.
it just brings too many tourists into the city, and then it's just traffic. Oh.
Yeah.
The traffic. But yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it in Edinburgh. You're welcome back anytime.
Okay.
Right, I am signing off. Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Night.
Yeah. Good night, Kathy. Did I call you Kathy? Sorry, Cuffy. Sorry. All right. Thank you very much, and
You're
have
welcome.
a great night.
Martha, I was just going to ask, you said that your details are going to be sent. I just wanted to, will I be able to email you to find out more details about getting like leadership training?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can schedule a conversation around it. So you can understand and so your context. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
My website is marthacuffy.co.uk. You can send me a message from there.
Okay, yes, I will do. Thank you. Yeah, I'm very interested I feel like I'm at that like crossroads kind of thing where I kind of need to decide now, okay, am I going to be an amazing leader and step into leadership like these, or am I just going to procrastinate for...
Yeah, and stay in the comfort of the fear zone.
Exactly. So
yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for today.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Take care.
Yeah, bye.